A very warm welcome to Via the Grapevine, proudly brought to you by Tony DaCosta of Liquor City, Claremont, and offering you the chance to learn more about wine, the masters behind them, and even which wines to collect. My guest today is Ross Sleet, co-owner and managing director of Rascallion Wines, launched in 2018, a negociant based in Stellenbosch. We last chatted to you, Ross, in September of 2018 on Via the Grapevine. So a very warm welcome back.
Thanks, Guy. Nice to see you again.
Our very first conversation was very much about you wanting to change the conversation that people have about wine. In fact, a visit to your wine tasting room in Cellies will surprise guests with a big sign that says, "This is not wine." How has that conversation been going over the last 2 and a bit years?
It's been going very well. We launched about February 2018, and I think we are in about 11 or 12 countries around the world. North America, coast to coast in Canada, about 15, 16 states in America, Japan, China, Middle East, Europe, and even the Caribbean as well. And the whole bit about what we're trying to do is we're not trying to be stuffy. We're not trying to sort of drown people in wine data about terroir and RS and alcohol, etc. We just want to have a conversation with consumers, which is about the essence of why you drink wine, which is for pleasure, for enjoyment, hopefully responsibly, but also to make sure that the conversation we want to have, which involves food as well, is carried forward. And then if we started with our conversation around the wine piece by saying this is not wine, this is Rascallion, and the other side of that is change the conversation, talk Rascallion, and that's just about trying to get to a particular side of the I suppose the marketing piece, where consumers don't feel intimidated by a wine speak. They don't feel intimidated by someone in the wine industry, because there are a lot of people who have stories about terroir, 300 years of family history, and that's fine. I mean, the wine industry is a broad church. There's room for everybody. There are only 600,000 wine brands in the world. But from our point of view, the way to want to catch attention is to be slightly irreverent, be a little bit cheeky, play to our alter ego, and being the rascals that we are, and making sure that we were absolutely front and center, saying to consumers, you can come and talk to us about anything. We're not taking ourselves too seriously. And thank goodness it's worked very well. And if it wasn't for COVID, we were working even better.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it certainly seems to have paid off. The conversation seems to be going well for you, because you've extended the portfolio of wines that you offer. But then, of course, within this period, you've had to deal with COVID. You've got an ethos of innovation, being a fleet of foot. So how are you surviving this pandemic and its lingering effects?
We're actually doing okay. Thank goodness, haven't had any sort of the real heartache around COVID in terms of loss of life and that, and which obviously has affected many people all over the world, not least in Stellenbosch and in South Africa. But business has been tough. Everyone's aware that we were closed. We couldn't sell for 25% of the last financial year in our biggest markets, and that's not particularly great. But notwithstanding that, we've opened 5 or 6 markets. I mentioned China and UAE and Europe during lockdown. We've also shipped to those countries, in Japan and the UK and Canada. The biggest impact has been the USA, where obviously they've been decimated by COVID, and we were doing very well in on-trade, and that's virtually non-existent in many parts of America. So it's been tough, but we have survived, and we continue to battle to survive. We've been more fortunate than many other people in the value chain. If I think about the restaurateurs that have closed, some of them will never go back to being restaurateurs. If I think about the people who have been out of jobs in those restaurants, in those bars, and in those nightclubs, that's it's heartbreaking. Also, it's devastating economically for so many of those people. So, yeah, we've had a tough time, but not as tough as lots of other people in the value chain.
And I suppose it helps that you're quite a streamlined company as well, because it's yourself and an ambassador, right? You don't have a massive staff that you're having to try.
No, not at all. Yes. Myself and Michaela, who I believe you had the privilege to meet the other day, we are very lean. If we compare ourselves to some of the much bigger organizations, I shudder to think about the devastating impact of COVID on payrolls and people taking pay cuts, some people losing their jobs, etc. So we've kept ourselves very lean and very mean. Online has done very well for us, as it has done for many wine businesses around the world. 80% of our SA trade was on trade, and obviously that's devastating to lose that. So, but we'll claw it back bit by bit, and we have a couple of innovative ideas around that, which are already seeing some wonderful new shoots of growth, not least of those in central Stellenbosch. So it's tough, but it's exciting. And the one thing, having lived through a couple of not COVIDs, but a couple of devastating financial environments, I was in the IT industry during the year 2000 fiasco, and in 10 months didn't book a single sale, but still hit our targets at the end of the year. So experience like that keeps you in check and goes, okay, we'll just keep your head down and keep on going. So that's what we keep on going.
Well, since we last spoke, you've expanded your portfolio of wines, as I mentioned. And before we get to your exciting new releases, let's revisit some of the original releases. And I'd like to start with the vinyl collection. You've got this absolutely sensational 33 1/3 RPM, which happens to be one of my wife's absolute favorite wines. I battled to get my hands on a bottle. And then, of course, the 45 RPM from the same collection of wines. But you've also got the word collection, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, all the collections they all have cultural references. And to me, this was far more important than anything else, is to bring my experience and my kind of interests to bear in these cultural references. So the vinyl collection, vinyl music, somehow has a much more deeper, richer, more resonant sound compared to digital, in my opinion, at least. And from a wine point of view, we wanted to convey the same thing: richer, more deeper, more resonant, and ultimately more interesting wine. So the word collection and the vinyl collection are all blends. And one of the things I was told when I started Rascallion is, why are you going with white blends? No one will ever buy them. I'm going, well, thanks to you for your advice, but the 33 1/3 RPM, as you pointed out, one of the favorites. Well, that's our biggest selling SKU in 11, 12 countries around the world. So, yeah, some advice is well taken and well meant, well intentioned. Other advice, you can so much and move on. The word collection, that's about having fun with words. We have words like bombinate, and to be honest, I found the word and then said I have to make a wine called bombinate. It's a rich, deep, resonant sound, so we want a rich, deep, resonant red. Other words like susurrus, which is a gentle, soft sound in the background, which gives you pleasure. Bacon frying, or babbling brook and stuff like that. So again, not taking ourselves too seriously. The wine's all very visually appealing, as you know. So that's kind of the background to the original wines.
And seriously, good wines, even though you're not taking them terribly seriously, which is what I find so cool about your branding. And you've also now released With Love from the Cape collection, which not only offers up highly approachable wines, but also an opportunity for purchasers to do good and support an NGO as the cat makes an arrival. What would By the Grapevine be without this cat's tail?
Yeah, the With Love from the Cape collection. This is, as I said, very, very accessible. The retail around about 85 Rand, or actually a bit below that in some environments. And here, this is a single varietals, which is again going slightly against the grain, but they're very much a love letter from the Cape. They all reflect people. The labels are reflecting people of the Cape, and but bring a little bit of the Cape, the sunshine, the mountains, our wine experience too. Some places the deepest, darkest, coldest parts of whether it's UK or whether it's North America. And they're all meant to be a simple, clean, but interesting expression of the fruit. It's not just another bog standard Sauvignon Blanc, not just another bog standard Rosé. But the other side of it, which we're very fortunate to have been able to do, is we support an NGO called Dignity Dreams. And you can look at their website on dignitydreams.com, run by a lady called Sharon Gordon and her team. And they manufacture and distribute washable sanitary towels to young girls and women in most of the rural areas of South Africa. They've also been devastated by COVID because they can't get into the schools to educate these young girls and women about the benefits of using these sanitary products. And the benefit that this particular product does, it keeps young girls and women in education and in school. The societal benefits of educating young women and also the economic benefits are immense. And that's kind of what actually brings that message home to us. On the new labels, there will be a QR code that will actually take visitors directly to the Dignity Dreams website where they can support. And every bottle, the proportion of the sales, the price of every bottle goes directly towards Dignity Dreams. So we're very lucky to have them on board, and we love the work that they do. We hope that they can continue to do it with our support and the support of many other people.
You've got the art collection. It features just one wine, the Impress Rouge, that so impressed the Platters judge Winnie Bowman that it scored 4 stars. Why the only the one offering? And will you be extending that collection?
Yeah, I mean, this is the foibles of being a negotiant. So a negotiant, we buy finished parcels of wine and then blend them to our own specifications. Impress Rouge came about for tender we won in Finland, and it's always intended to have an Impress Blanc alongside it. But I can't find the exact blend of, in this instance, I want a cooler climate of white wines that I like and enjoy to go with the Impress Rouge. So at the moment it's a lonely soldier, but it'll get a companion in due course. And again, that's one of the beauties of doing what we are doing. We're not handcuffed by a vineyard or a cellar having to do the same things over and over again. We can be bendy and, as you mentioned earlier, fleet of foot.
And now on to the whole reason why I love doing Via the Grapevine, and that's the tasting. And onto your new wines, your winemaker's collection, of which today I'm tasting the 4.5-star Edward Ross. Tell us more about this particular addition to your portfolio, the 3 wines.
Yeah, so this is the winemaker's collection, which all of them are named in memory of my parents and my grandfather. Although my mother's still alive, I should just say that, otherwise she will probably kill me if she tells everybody I'm like she's still not around. So we've got 3 wines in the collection. The first is the Devonian, which is this wine here. This is 100% Shiraz from the Swartland region of South Africa. A name for my father. So my father came from Devon in southwest England. The county colour of Devon is green. He happened to work for Nedbank, which is also green. And the north coast of Devon is exposed to the Atlantic Ocean and the ancient Fold Mountains. And after Charles Darwin published his theory of evolution, and fossil hunting became almost like a middle-class sport on the north coast of Devon. So if you were from Devon, you knew about fossil hunting. And the Devonian era is a geological era which splits two important epochs in time. And it's a period when fish first came onto land. My father adored seafood. And you can see on the label, the kind of like almost like 18th, 19th century renderings of various things from the sea. And yes, it's a lovely way that I can pay tribute to who he was as a person. He would have loved this sort of just slightly irreverent take, and it's because he was not a man who loved pomposity in wine, especially. He was a straight down to earth guy who just really enjoyed having a good time, enjoying good wine. And then we have the second wine is named after my still alive 83-year-old mother. It's called A Mother's Journey.
Beautiful.
And the Mother's Journey depicts various elements in her life. She grew up in Southern and East Africa. And she's a person who pretty much gave me, foisted in me my love of travel. And on here we have a picture of her and her grandmother on Adley Street in probably the 50s. Her as a little probably 3 or 4 year old on, I think it's Odacral Beach, RMS Windsor Castle that we came out from the UK on. My father, who rode at Henley, my godfather with his mates at Henley. And then she loves owls and frogs and flowers. And right in the middle of this, if you look quite carefully, you'll see a Russian church.
Yes.
And that's to do with the fact that one of my sister's boyfriends, when he met my mother for the first time, my mother speaks incredibly quickly. When he left, he said to my sister, "I didn't know that your mother was Russian." So I kind of put that on the label just as a bit of a Mickey take. But it's very much it's an homage to a mother of 3 and a granny of 8, and that's 100% Shiraz from the Helberg region of Stellenbosch. And then the final wine is the Edward Ross.
Oh,
so that's named for my grandfather, Edward Ross Spiker. You can actually see his signature on the actual label. And most importantly, front of center here are his medals from the Second World War. He was pretty much the original rascal. He was married 3 times, and he enjoyed life. Let's put it that way. But the important thing about what I wanted to do with this particular label is to honor his service. He fought in North Africa in 41, was captured at Tobruk, was then released in 43 out of Italy. He then resurfaces in 1944 with his signature on, that's actually taken from his marriage certificate. I'm not sure whether I was allowed to do that, but I did it. And then he re-emerges on the 10th of December 1945, where he's discharged from the South African Navy, not the Army. Wow. And discharged, not honorary discharge. So I'm pretty sure there's a story in there. But the important thing is these are his actual medals. They're actually in a box in my living room here, and they 8th Army in the desert of North Africa. And so it was very much being given the opportunity. It doesn't matter what sort of person he was in life. He served, and he served with honor.
And this blend that you've chosen, Shiraz, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cinsault, and Grenache Noir, it's a really superb blend. I was having a look here. At the back, you've got 52% Shiraz. So Shiraz led, but not necessarily Shiraz led on the nose. I mean, you're getting lovely, juicy, succulent kind of plums, deep fruit, hints of the Christmas spices coming through as well. And I found that on the entry, you've got that bold tannin entry, but then it softens quite nicely. So that tells me that this has still got a lot of, you could still age it for a good while if you feel, but if you want to drink it now, you can also enjoy it because that bold tannin kind of softens quite nicely. And by all appearances, you have a fascination with Grenache.
Yes, you found me out. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as in cooking, and it's not very scientific. So, Rihanna Australian is our consultant winemaker. She'll probably slap me around the gills for saying this. But to me, I view Grenache as a mushroom. It takes flavor and it gives flavor, and it's very prevalent in this particular blend. The Shiraz, as you said, is lovely, juicy, but sometimes Shiraz can be a little bit too spicy. Yeah. So the top notes, in my mind, we're getting of the plums and the sweeter red fruit. That's to me what the Cinsault is imparting to it. And then the Grenache takes a lot of those flavors and pushes them back at you. So the spice is almost like being thrown at you just slightly above the actual top notes. And then it settles down and reintegrates. But yeah, I adore Grenache. I grew up wine-wise in Europe, not in South Africa. When I was a student here at UCT, and before I left South Africa to go traveling years ago, wine was for drinking. It wasn't for contemplating your navel about and trying to dissect. It was stuff to be drunk. And when I actually started to understand, or thought I understood a bit about wine, it was the wines from the Rhone initially, which really attracted me, and the Shiraz and Grenache blends and the different sort of permutations, and also Provençal, classic Provençal rosé, Shiraz, Grenache. So I actually, I just love what Grenache adds to it. I mean, it's to me, it's difficult for me to think of a blend without Grenache. The same way it's difficult for me to think of cooking pasta without using garlic.
I have to agree with you on that. And so this new range, you're launching end of May, I believe, hey?
Yeah, we're launching end of May, and we're going to have we're going to have some fun at the launch as well, because we have a chef who is well known to Michaela, and she's going to be doing some of my family's home cooking. So she's been doing a dish for my father, a dish for my mother, then another dish which I'll hopefully have some say in as well. And again, just the idea is just to have a conversation about things that are important. You know, everyone's gone through one hell of a ride in COVID, and we want to bring the ability to have a family conversation into an environment where, yes, we're paying homage to my family, but it's almost a case of everybody has the capability somewhere in their life to be thankful and grateful for what family brings to us.
Do you plan to release a Cup Classique bubbly in the future? Because I think you're quite a bubbly chap. You've got, it would match your effervescent nature to have something with a bit of wordplay as well, like an ebullient bubbly or such.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been told in wine, you should bring it up bubbly, place the brand, and it does. But A, we have enough on our plate at the moment, and B, if I'm going to do something bubbly wise, I want to do it. I want to obviously want to make a statement and do it in a more interesting way than just here's another bubbly. We have so many fantastic Cup Classiques in this country. To bring out another one just for the sake of it seems sacrilege. So I have a concept I'm working on, and myself and Riani have been talking about what we're going to do and how we're going to execute it. And if we find the right juice, we have the concept ready to go. But obviously, you know, we can't just keep on releasing SKUs. I have to sell some of these things before I can go onto the next project. But yes, I would love to have a bubbly, but it must be something which I like to drink and I like to share with friends and family.
And I feel like it has to have Grenache in it, because otherwise it's not really a Rascallion wine.
I don't know what the rules are, but I haven't got a clue how I get Grenache into a Cup Classic blend. That would be an interesting challenge.
That could stand out quite uniquely. I've got some quick fire questions to wrap up with. You can give us one-word answers if you fancy, just to kind of get to know you a little bit better. And the first question would be your favorite variety to drink.
Yeah, it's got to be Shiraz for me. It's as I said earlier, when I started to understand wine, it was the Shiraz blends from Morone which kind of led the way, and that still is the case. I love my meat, I love rich food, and to me, Shiraz just brings that whole combination of spice and fruit. Yeah, I'd kind of probably a very close second is Chenin. But to me,
I'm blown away. I thought you would say Grenache. I really thought that was going to feature somewhere there. Now I'm hearing Shiraz and Chenin. My word.
Yeah, well, you know, we have to keep things different. Make sure we deliver the unexpected. No, it's just look, Shiraz, and I was really lucky enough to have tasted and sold, and most importantly, sold Shiraz, Syrahs, Australia, from South America, from France, obviously from South Africa as well. I just love Shiraz's versatility, as was Chenin, but Shiraz is by a narrow head.
As a man who's led a rather interesting life thus far, if your life were to be made into a movie, who would play you?
He's sadly dead, but I'll probably say Sean Connery. That's just because I think he had a cheeky little glint in his eye. No, he's a
and
man.
You look quite similar. You're a younger version from where I am. You look like a younger version.
Yeah, flattery will get you everywhere. That case is coming its way to you. No, I don't know. I thought Sean Connery was he didn't appear to take life too seriously and had a bit of fun along the way. I'm not sure about the accent though, but it might have its benefits in some environments.
So, right. And then snook braai or a picnic under the trees?
Yeah, Johan Krikke from Knolkorp's going to kill me, but not snook. I don't do snook in any manner or form. So it has to be.
So definitely a picnic under the trees for you then.
Yeah, no invites to Knolkorp coming my way anytime soon.
I've got to share with you that I was not really a huge fan of snook either until I had an invite to that braai, and I'm the most passionate supporter of that because they do an unreal job. It really is incredible. So, Johan, hopefully, if you do have another braai, I'd love to be there. We can enjoy the snook while we look through the window and watch Ross enjoy a picnic outside on the lawn.
Maybe I'll just ask Johan to do some lamb chops on the side. That'll be fine.
All right, final one. What's your hidden talent?
It's very hidden. It only comes out very late at night and after a few glasses of wine. But I can actually sing. I can hold a tune.
You can sing and hold a tune. Serious? That's incredible.
I can't read music at all, but I can hold a tune.
Particular genre that you enjoy singing?
Yeah, no, nothing in particular that springs to mind. Just I've had a couple of experiences in a couple of K bars or karaoke bars in the East. Where I think I surprised the hell out of one of my ex-colleagues who kind of looked at me halfway through the song and was going, "Oh my word, you can actually sing." I was going, "Well, it's not that unusual," and she was just like, "I didn't. No, you can sing." But yeah, it takes a lot of Dutch courage to get me into that environment.
Well, you're lucky to have had that compliment, because there was once upon a time I was trying to woo a young lady, and I'm a particular fan of Eric Clapton, and I put on his Eric Clapton Unplugged album, and I went to track 7, Layla, and I had my mom's guitar, and I pretended to play the guitar while wearing a trench coat, but singing the words to her in my bedroom. And that was really the last time that I ever saw her, unfortunately.
Is she still running?
She ran to Australia. She got as far away as possible.
Yeah, quite.
So to buy Rascallion wines, you can hit the buy wine button on my website via the grapevine.co.za. You get a great price on 4 wines that we're featuring this week, 2 from the vinyl collection and 2 from the word collection. And of course, you can always make a turn in Stellenbosch, visit the tasting room and buy from Ross himself. Or if you fancy your chances, then how about you answer an easy question right here on the Facebook page, and it's on the Via the Grapevine Facebook page, and you could win a tasting for 4 people, and Ross will send each of them home with a bottle of wine. So very nice prize indeed. And if I were you, I would start thinking about who you would take if you win. I know who wants to come with me next time. But thank you, Ross. It's been great chatting with you.
Nice to see you again.
And of course, we invite you to tune in again next week for Via the Grapevine, brought to you by Liquor City Claremont, as we take you on another journey via the Grapevine.